Welcome back. Today we're trying something a little bit new, a little bit different, a little bit game showy, which is called the Flop Wheel. And yes, it did actually take me quite a while to think of that name. So the idea of the Flop Wheel is that, as you can see, there are a bunch of different artists who I don't particularly like. 69 of them, to be precise. And these range from general meh disinterest to absolute cringe, and I want to incinerate myself every time I hear them. So none of it good. There may be a small justification here and there for some of these artists, but overall I think these all suck, and I'm going to be giving my brief as possible thoughts on these artists and then smash through to the next one as quickly as possible. So I'm not going to dwell too long on any particular artist. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so first spin. The Rolling Stones, general meh. I've never really enjoyed anything I've heard from them. I don't understand why they're as popular as they are. I can understand when they emerged, the popularity, for sure, but all of the songs I've ever heard, I've heard too many times. I didn't like it the first time, I didn't like it the 50th time. Generally meh. Next. Volbeat. Volbeat to me are a mildly heavier Danish version of Green Day. They're quite recognizable, I will give them that, but every time I recognize them I just go, And again, another vastly popular band that I really don't get the appeal of. They're not particularly heavy. They're very like mid in general. Like everything about them, I think, is quite mid. And fun fact, I was once on the website emp.com, a band merchandise website, and at the time they were giving away free Volbeat t-shirts with every order. You tick a box and you get a free Volbeat t-shirt. You didn't have to, so I didn't. Next. Machine Gun Kelly. What can I say about Machine Gun Kelly that hasn't already been said? The guy's an arrogant prick, he's way too big for his boots. Every single genre of music that he's dipped his toes into has not really welcomed him and has pretty much kicked him out. He did one of the worst covers of any song I've ever heard. I think he covered... was it Aerials by System of a Down? It was some System of a Down song, and like on a live TV performance or something, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you, man? Why did you think this was a good idea? Not particularly talented. I appreciate when an artist tries different avenues, different genres and stuff like that, but when you suck at all of them, just stop. Next. Lil Xan. I don't know if I'd even really consider Lil Xan a musician, because he doesn't really do music. He does baby babbling into a microphone and calls it music. I don't see any talent there. The whole SoundCloud rapper thing, I mean, is it still a thing? I don't know. I don't really pay attention to that part of the musical world. But it was always crap. I think everyone knew it was always crap, except the people who were zonked out of their mind on Xanax and lean. They couldn't tell the difference between decent and crap, I guess, which is why it became so popular. And Lil Xan is, for me, kind of the embodiment of that whole culture, if you can even call it that. Dreadful, talentless, brain dead, idiot, moving on. Oh, Black Eyed Peas. I can see why they're popular, I'll give them that much, but it's like pop music designed for 6-year-olds. Like actually designed for 6-year-olds. But adults listen to this, for some reason. Very catchy, but in like the worst way. I'm pretty sure I've woken up in the morning with Black Eyed Peas songs stuck in my head. Even though I've not listened to it, consciously, but at some point in the last week or so, it's probably been in the airwaves, and I wake up with it in my head, and I'm immediately annoyed. Very, very, very bad music, in a creative sense, in an avant-garde kind of sense, and I know it's not trying to be that, but lowest common denominator music that will always annoy me, I hope I never hear again. Next. Hollywood Undead. I think some people out there will probably assume that I like Hollywood Undead based on the other kinds of music that I enjoy. No. Hollywood Undead, to my mind, they were around before the whole new metal revival thing was going on, but they were new metaling in, like, again, very low common denominator way. Surface level, angsty edginess. Wearing masks as a band these days, and even 10 years ago, like, that's been done. There's a quite famous band with 9 members who have already done that. That's kind of their thing. So any band that wears masks, I see as not very creative, just going, hey, you know this band, so you'll probably like us, give us a shot. But it's just terrible. Every single time I've listened to them, which hasn't been many, admittedly, I always get the same response. It's like a little bit of sick comes into the back of my throat. Horrible. Moving on. This one's kind of obvious, isn't it? Justin Bieber is a kind of tragic case. It's another case of, like, the Hollywood entertainment industry taking a child and ruining their life in exchange for money and fame, essentially. A lot of the things that he's criticized for, I would say, isn't actually his fault in a lot of cases. In the sense that he never had a normal childhood. You know, this happens a lot. Britney Spears, Michael Jackson, there's countless entertainers, music or TV or whatever, that don't have a normal childhood and then end up being not very nice people. That aside, that kind of benefit of the doubt, all of his music is terrible. I mean, of course it is. It's obviously not designed for someone like me. I was considering not including Justin Bieber in this list because it's so bloody obvious. Of course it's terrible. Again, very low-hanging fruit music. I don't know how many different ways I can say I don't enjoy Justin Bieber's music, but that shouldn't come as any surprise to any of you. I think just time to move on with this one. That was close. Lil Wayne. Okay. I consider any artist with Lil as a prefix to their name to automatically be terrible, because I've never heard a single one that isn't. And to my memory, Lil Wayne was the first one to do that, and he was the first rapper to embody the kind of low effort, lazy, garbage SoundCloud rapper aesthetic, and was very influential to a lot of those guys like Lil Xan. And so he has a lot to answer for in terms of ruining music. And one of the only times I've really had a raised eyebrow at Limp Bizkit was when they made a song with Lil Wayne, Ready to Go, I think it was called. It wasn't the greatest, and it was partly because of his contribution. Lil Wayne is trash. Lil Wayne is another talentless mug who somehow has convinced the world that he's entertaining. But I think that there's a correlation between people's IQs globally reducing and stupid people becoming famous and becoming entertainers. It is a coincidence, but it's no accident, I don't think. I think this is all a, tinfoil hat situation. Lil Wayne, what a moron. Pink Floyd. This might surprise some of you. Pink Floyd, it's the same with the Rolling Stones. I understand why they have been popular, but I don't really understand why they're popular anymore. I've never heard a Pink Floyd song that was compelling to me. I wouldn't say it's bad even, it's just very, very mid and really like spacey and stuff. You know, I'm not one to take hallucinogens, so I think for that reason I could never really appreciate it. They have made some ridiculously overplayed songs. A Brick in the Wall. Korn covered that. I understand they're very influential and everything, but for me, just there's nothing there of any appeal whatsoever. That's all I've got to say about Pink Floyd. Smashing Pumpkins. This again could be a bit of a surprise to some of you watching. Similar with Pink Floyd, I've never heard a song that I enjoyed. The vocalist voice, what's his name? Baldy man. I forget his name now. He has one of the most annoying voices I've ever heard. To me, it always sounds like a cat slowly being crushed by a vice. And I don't like that image, or that sound, so I don't like his voice. The music's alright, but again, I've never understood the appeal of Smashing Pumpkins in such a huge scale. They were very fitting of the time, sort of grunge-ish era, alt rock kind of thing, but they never did anything for me. I've had quite a few friends that were into Smashing Pumpkins, and I tried listening to it, and I just couldn't get over the guy's voice. Hateful. Ghost. Ghost is a band that, to my mind at least, only really emerged like 7 or 8 years ago, and then all of a sudden, all metalheads are wearing Ghost t-shirts. I don't understand that. I have given some of their songs a shot. There was one that I heard that sort of reminded me of Dog Fashion Disco. It was a slightly more recent one, came out a few years ago, and I thought that was interesting. But it was interesting based on what I was expecting from what I heard before, which is like cheesy 80s ballad stuff. There are few bands out there whose image doesn't match the sound of the band as much as Ghost. I saw the image of them and I'm like, okay, they're probably going to sound something like Slipknot, maybe, at a guess. No, it's like almost hair metal. The absolute pretension from the vocalist guy, I know I'm seeming quite ignorant, I usually know my band member names, but these are all bands I don't really care about, so why am I going to memorize their names? The guy with the stupid Pope hat and the Marilyn Manson contact lens is an idiot. He said, and this is a quote from him, not word for word mind, but I'm paraphrasing, he said something to the effect that there has been no good rock or metal since like the early 90s, I think it was. Interesting statement. I don't agree with it, obviously, but wouldn't Ghost be included in that? So you're effectively saying your band sucks. Clown. Moving on. Ooh, that was close. Coldplay. I have covered Coldplay briefly in another video. And again, I think this one's pretty obvious, isn't it? Bland, soy boy, limp-wristed, grey, thin rock for middle-aged women. Moving on. Michael Jackson. Okay. Well, scandal aside, Michael Jackson, when I was really little, Michael Jackson was one of the first artists I ever started paying attention to, if you can believe that. But I mean little, like 5 or 6 or something, and that's just because he was everywhere at the time. And for a brief moment in my childhood, I was like, yeah, I'm a Michael Jackson fan, because I didn't know any better, and he was just plastered in my face all the time. That said, he has only one song that I like. So that's more already than most of these, which is Earth Song. Really good song. I really like that one song. Everything else is not technically bad. It just really does nothing for me. I can acknowledge that he was a good dancer, but I don't like his dancing, if that makes sense. I don't like his style. Why are you wearing one glove? You only got one cold hand? What's going on? I think blown out of proportion. I'm not saying he wasn't talented, but the scope of his career is utterly bewildering to me. I don't think he's that good, he may be good, but he's not that good, if you know what I mean. It's not good to me. His music is never going to get me hyped for anything. But like I say, there is that one song, Earth Song, which I think is really good. But one song out of such a massive career being good, that's not great. Moving on. Avicii. Avicii created a combination of house music and country. Moving on. The Rasmus. Okay, that's interesting. So, the Rasmus became quite popular in the early 2000s, if memory serves, and a lot of my friends were into them. And this was another case where I don't get what do you see that I don't? Because I'm obviously missing something here. But I always found them fundamentally very annoying. Again, the vocalist voice really annoying. There's a common theme with a lot of these. I just thought they were very mid at best. And at the time, you know, I was listening to some pretty grotesque music, so it didn't really reach the level of heaviness that I was after at the time. A friend of mine, 6 months ago or so, sent me a new The Rasmus song, and I thought, you know, I've never liked this band, but it's been a long time since I've heard anything by them. Like, I'm talking 15 years, 20 years, maybe. So I'll give this song a shot. Maybe they've changed in a way that I like. And my reaction was again exactly the same. I don't see the appeal in this at all. What an annoying voice. It was a music video that he sent me as well, and the video came across very desperate, like a 50-year-old goth. There's nothing sadder than that. XxXTentacion. Okay, well, another example of a horrendous person. Beat up his girlfriend, his pregnant girlfriend, I think. You know, obviously dead now, R.I.P., I suppose. He's just another SoundCloud low bitrate rapper. You know, they're all the same to me. Lil Xan, Lil Wayne, XxXTentacion, it's all just the same crap. It's badly produced music, not particularly relatable lyrics or going on about anything really important. Very either self-aggrandizing or self-deprecating. It's either one or the other. Very predictable, very boring, very devoid of talent. Yuck. Nicki Minaj. Okay, Nicki Minaj, I think, has to be one of the worst musical artists of all time. And not just because the music's crap, it is obviously dreadful, but it's also the influence that she has on young women. You know, her music videos, she's always like twerking and stuff. It's borderline adult content, but it's a music video and it's marketed at young teenage girls. Not to sound like a complete old man, but I think she's a very bad influence. And from what I gather, she's not a very nice person either. Entitled. I just hate everything about her. I hate the way she speaks. I hate her stupid plastic nails. I hate her fake ass. Just one of the worst, I think, of this whole list of artists. One of the worst. That I'm not saying I would punch in the face. I'm not saying that. But I don't know if I'd stop someone from doing so. Okay, 21 Savage. Yeah, basically the same as Lil Xan and Lil Wayne and what was the other one? XxXTentacion. They're all the fucking same. Mumbling, face-tattooed morons with no talent, and 21 Savage is just another one of them. He doesn't stand out in any way from any of the others. In fact, I'm starting to wonder now if I should have included so many of these mumble rappers, because they're all basically the same character. just with slightly different bad tattoos on their face. So specifically 21 Savage, you know, I've not necessarily listened to a lot of his music. I have, out of morbid curiosity, listened to some of these guys, and it's just absolute rubbish. I don't really see much of a future for them. In the music industry, I mean. The Beatles. Yes, well, of course, I have also covered the Beatles in a separate video. Where to begin with the Beatles? They seem like a band that if you say you don't like them, people will shout at you or claim that you have no musical knowledge or your taste is invalid if you don't like the Beatles, etc., etc. I think they are probably, with no hyperbole, the most overrated band in history. You know, they were the first to popularize the concept of pop music, kind of. Doesn't make them the best at it. And their songs that, you know, given what I enjoy in music, which I think a lot of you are already well aware of by now, what is there in the Beatles that relates to my taste? You know, there's nothing at all. There's no circumstance in which I'd want to listen to it. It's very boring, it's very formulaic. The production is so bad as well. And this is something I mentioned in that video. I was in a car with someone once and they were playing the Beatles. It was their car, so I'm not going to argue. The drums in the mix were panned all the way right in the sound system in the car. Amateurs. Puddle of Mudd. Yeah, this might surprise some of you because I am a fan of Stained, and I think a lot of people would associate Stained and Puddle of Mudd based on their sort of vaguely new metal, post-grunge kind of similar sound and aesthetics. But Puddle of Mudd, I always thought were inferior. There's something about Stained where the emotional release in Stained's music really gets to me. And Puddle of Mudd, I think, were trying to do the same exact thing, but for me, it just didn't resonate at all. Even though they're very similar, I can't really explain it. And these days, when I think of Puddle of Mudd, I think of them covering Nirvana. And that image will never leave my mind. It was so terrible and hilarious and memeified at this point. This is much more of a meh band. I don't hate them, just big, big, fat meh. Next. Oh dear. This is becoming a meme on my channel at this point, the fact that I hate Metallica and the amount that I hate Metallica. Again, these were included in that video about bands that I cannot stand. Metallica, so overrated, so past their prime. They were 20 years ago. They haven't contributed anything decent to music for like pretty much my entire lifetime. They haven't added anything. They've just been coasting non-stop with incredible success my whole life. And I don't understand why kids are into them these days. I understand why, you know, older fans have the nostalgia factor. I'm sick of hearing them. I'm sick of them still somehow being relevant. The world needs to move on from Metallica so like another 100 bands can come and take their one big place. You know what I mean? And James Hetfield is a twat, and Lars Ulrich is a rubbish drummer. Sleep Token. This band seems to get a lot of hate, but I don't think it's unwarranted. Similar with Ghost. They seem to just pop out of nowhere and suddenly become the biggest band in the world, which I don't really understand, but I approve of, in contrast to Metallica, where they have been very, very mid for a long time and they're still one of the biggest bands in the world. This band came out of nowhere and is as big as Metallica, sort of, among maybe a younger demographic. I have a friend actually who has the Sleep Token mask thing tattooed on her, which I wouldn't do. Not because I dislike the band, just because, you know, we don't know who they are. They could all be paedophiles. That aside, musically, I find them very experimental, obviously, but every single experiment they've done, I think, is either half-assed or the two different sections of the song don't gel together. On their latest album, there was a section, at least, of a song with a reggaeton beat. That throws any chances of me enjoying Sleep Token out the window. Over-ambitious. I think that's how I feel about Sleep Token. Very overly ambitious and missing the mark in general. Okay, I've been recording for a while now, so I'm going to make this the last 3. Let's go. Okay, well this will be a quick one. Dumb, tattooed face, rubbish, baby music, rest in peace. Post Malone. Okay, there's something about Post Malone's face that I find really irritating. Maybe he reminds me of someone I went to school with who was a bit of a dickhead or something. I can't explain it, but every time I see his face, it makes me wince. And I want to do violence. Musically, I've never heard anything that was particularly interesting. Anyone who has tattoos on their face, I will never take seriously. I don't care how good you are. You look like a moron. I would say Post Malone is one of these artists that maybe I should do some more exploring into their music, but at the same time, I just don't like you as a person, for no good reason, and that's not your fault. It's just the reality of the world. Sorry, dude. Last one. Oh, this will be short and sweet. Beast in Black were performing at a festival I went to one time, and I remember going, "What the hell is that horrible noise?" And someone saying, "Oh, that's Beast in Black." Not for me. Okay, well this was fun. For me, at least. I hope you found this enjoyable. Were you offended by any of my remarks? Because, you know, I'm a very opinionated person. That's what this channel is based on, is my humble opinion. So, if I've upset you, tough. If you have any more that you would like to add to this list, then put them down below, and I will give my thoughts on them. I really had to think hard about all of these artists, because I could give you a list of 1,000 bands that I really, really love. But to think of bands that I really can't stand was actually really difficult. Like, really difficult. I was sitting for hours making this list, because I don't sit there hating bands in my spare time, you know? I just, for the most part, none of these artists ever even enter my mind. I just know that I think they're crap. If there's some that you think I may have forgotten about, or overlooked, perhaps, maybe I could consider them, and if I don't know them, I could check them out, and depending on how many suggestions there are, of course, and I'll add them to this list and subtract the ones that we've already done, so we don't get any repeats if I do another one. But yeah, this was fun. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you're new, then thank you for clicking on it, and if you're already subscribed, thank you for being here. If you wish, you can support me on Buy Me Coffee and PayPal, and I have a merch store, link in description, but I still have not thought of how to end videos yet, so I'm just going to say, go away.